Welcome to Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hey guys, and welcome to episode 40. We hit 40.
Party.
911, yeah, really. Of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, EJ, and joining me today are my lovely co-hosts, Katie.
Hey guys.
And Grace.
Hey everyone.
Today we'll be diving into another 911 Begins episode. Today we're going to be focusing on Bobby Begins and Bobby Begins Again, which were episodes season 1, episode 5, and season 2, episode 16. But before we get into Bobby, we have some Lone Star news we need to talk about.
There's so much, guys.
Like, oh my god, I don't want to wait.
Yeah. I was like, let's throw the news in first. So, like, there have been photos from, I'm skipping the premiere, that have been posted by Tim Minear on Twitter, and I'm sure everyone has seen these, but let's just talk about it. So, like, there's several pictures that I'm like, okay, we can tell it's winter because we have, like, Marjan, she's wearing, like, a hat and, like, a puffy coat. That's definitely winter. Then another one I really like is the one where Tommy, Nancy, Mateo, Paul, and TK are standing there. And at first glance, I was like, Nancy looks different, but I think it's just because her hair looks like slightly curled, where her hair
is down.
It's down. Yeah, that's why I was like, who is standing behind Tommy?
I thought that too at first glance.
And then, like, I know we joked about this, like how TK is holding a box and it could be another cake or something. I kind of hope, but I also kind of hope not. Like, come on, like, what could this be? It's just like kind of so random. Like, it's just like one of those out of place moments or out of place things to me. Like, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. And then there's this picture, and I think Ronan might have quote tweeted this or posted it. It's like the one where he's sitting there, and you could see that somebody else sitting there, which is completely obviously Gwen. Like, Ronan's like, who do you think this is? I'm like, it's obviously Gwen. Like, come on. Days prior, I believe, the actress had already posted that she was on set and she was hanging out with Ronan, so it was kind of like, we already know what's going down, okay?
Right. Well, we already know that she's there. We don't exactly know the circumstances why she's there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, are they in New York? Are they in Texas?
I don't think they're in New York. I definitely think they're in Texas.
But why is she in Texas again? That big
The only thing I could think of is that she came back to help TK and Carlos fight with attorneys for, like, the arson fire and all that.
Okay, low-key, even if I'm not Gwen's biggest fan, I totally want to see her being a badass attorney and, like,
she totally could do that.
Yeah, like, there's some circumstances where I'm like, I don't really want Gwen to be coming in for this. I don't know. There's just some things, but like that, I actually might want to see.
Right.
Yeah.
And she might not have, like, jurisdiction in Texas, but she can at least help them with some stuff.
Legal advice.
Advice. Free legal advice, might we add.
Yes. Hey, you got a mom that's a lawyer? Use her.
Yeah.
Use it.
Literally.
And then Tommy in her uniform cap, and that was her dress uniform. That was an interesting photo.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on there? Like, I can't even, like, think of anything of why.
So I briefly thought, what if Billy Burke isn't coming back and they came up with some, like, okay, here's my desire would be that Billy had passed away in this time frame between the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3, and they're at his funeral.
It would explain the dress uniform. I was thinking a funeral of some sorts.
Yeah. I feel like that's...
Because nothing has happened really to her that would have caused her to, like, get a promotion or any of the team. So it makes me feel like it's a funeral of some kind. And she wouldn't wear that to her husband's funeral. No, and, like, that had already happened, I'm assuming, because, like, wasn't there, like, I don't know. Episode 13, wasn't it? Yes, but that was so long ago at this point. Like, the funeral would have already happened, and I'm thinking that it would have happened between episodes 13 and 14. Yeah.
is what I was really thinking. I don't know what it is. I'm interested to find out, though.
But on the other hand, there has been, I think the next one is Paul in a yellow uniform, which tells me that he's still at the 129 or 122?
Yeah, like, I honestly can't pick out color with this. It honestly looks very, like, tan, but it's just, I don't know, who knows, but what you can tell by these like pictures is that it's definitely like winter, like the first with Marjan. And like that has to do with like the blizzard, which I know we kind of like were like, well, maybe it's just not a blizzard because of the title, but like it's definitely a blizzard because it had been confirmed way before like we heard anything about the show. That was the first thing ever be confirmed that they will be doing that. Like they teased that so long ago. Like I can't even remember when it was so long ago. Right. But yeah, Blizzard. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I think Ronan tweeted or Instagram and tweeted a picture of the original cover of the script for episode 1, and it was The Big Chill, which I just recently found out has changed names, but still focusing on the cold.
Yeah, I hate the new title, I'm not gonna lie,
What was it again?
I can't remember. I screenshot it this morning because I wanted to refer back to it. Let me find it.
I've seen it, but
I hate the new title. It's called Shock and Thaw. I hate that title, I'm not gonna lie.
The Big Chill was so much cooler.
And then we see Grace pregnant.
Very pregnant.
Yay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I love that Judd's there. I guess it looks like she's painting the nursery. Probably Judd telling her, you don't have to do that. And she's like, well, I ain't got nothing else to do, so...
Okay.
Also, you think I'm going to miss out painting my own baby's nursery? No.
Okay. I know this is kind of out there, but I really think it's a girl because of the way the room looks.
It looks very girlish, honestly.
Yeah, okay, there's pink curtains. Not that they couldn't do pink curtains for a boy, but do I think they're going to? No. And I don't know, it's just giving me, it's just giving very girly vibes, and I'm excited about that fact.
Yeah.
It is.
And Judd's the one that called it. He's like, I have a feeling.
I totally want to see him gloating about that a bit.
Oh, please. Oh my god. Like, I can just imagine. I'm just imagining.
Judd, a girl dad.
I've been saying this for a long time. Judd is a girl dad, okay? I don't know. I just have the vibe, and I usually have good vibes about these things.
True.
Speaking of, well, I was gonna say speaking of fathers, Papi, cause Carlos, not official fathers, but Papi, Carlos, this is like the first picture that I ever saw, and I was like, yes, giving us Carlos Cup content, I'm here for it.
Yes.
Like, every time I see Carlos in his cop uniform, I'm just like, yes.
Looking good, Papi.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I hope he gets more storylines with the police side of it, and not just like, I love Carlos, don't get me wrong, but I would love to see more of Carlos working and like, because he obviously has a passion for being a cop. I mean, look at how much he was like torn when the whole ad call episode happened, and I'm just like, dude, he needs more screen time as a cop.
Oh yeah, like if they can do like scenes, not like the same, but like the same vibe as the episode that TK and Nancy and Tommy got like whatever kidnapped, adopted, whatever. That episode, I'm here for it.
Badass Carlos.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
like
smart Carlos. Not that he isn't already smart.
Yeah.
Like, well, let's accent that and be like, yes, this boy's smart. Pay attention to him.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes, I love Rafa. He needs to be more on the screen.
Yeah, he does.
And then the last photo that we've seen a few others, but the last one that we have here is Mateo in his uniform. Doesn't really look happy in it.
Well, it's just, I don't know. Like, I don't think that at all. Like, I
feel like he's probably concentrating on the call. I don't feel like he's upset about something, but
no, I think that's just his face. Like,
true.
Like, I don't know. I think we're reading into it a little much. Like, I don't think it's, I don't think he's unhappy. I think it's just his face.
Yeah, and then aside from photos, Ronan has been very teaser active lately.
And got in trouble for it.
I know. I had to, like, when I was thinking of all the things that we know, I was like, I had to go through my screenshots and see, because every time Ronan says something, I screenshot it, because you never know.
And he's had to delete stuff.
Yeah, which we'll get to. So, apparently, the premiere is supposed to be TK heavy.
Which means
as it should be.
It's about time.
As it should be. Yeah, it really is about time. That made me so happy when I found that out too. And apparently the first 3 episodes, this is Ronan tweeting, he's like, the first 3 episodes will be iconic. And then later, people were like, okay, like, Tarlos iconic or iconic? And he's like, Tarlos iconic confirmed.
And then Rafa joined in.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got an accomplice now.
And guys, this is the last. So this has to do with like Ronan deleting things, but the premiere is supposed to be on January 3rd, supposedly. But it's just funny because I was reading into it the day of, and I was like, yeah, guys, I think the premiere is gonna be January 3rd. I mean, I don't know if this is like legit, but I trust this source, so I'm gonna say it's legit. And then later, Ronan was like, January 3rd premiere confirmed, and then he had to delete a couple hours later. I'm just,
it's like, honeys, damage is done. Like, you think we didn't latch onto that?
Yeah, and people were saying on Twitter, like, that information had been out long before Ronan ever said anything.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, dude, you know, it may not have been official, but it was enough that most of the fan sites had the information already, so somebody had leaked it, and it wasn't Ronan because he tweeted it, and then they must have been like Ronan, and then he deleted it, and then was like spoiler jail.
Yeah, I'm just in my head. I was thinking about how that went down. Like, imagine him getting a call and be like, Ronan, you need to delete that. We cannot reveal when the premiere is.
And then somebody else just completely random goes, too late. Like, already out there.
They can't even be like, oh, that's not true, because like, I don't, like, why would he confirm it? Like, obviously he knows when it's gonna be.
Right.
Yeah.
So too late. No.
I think he's a long time ago said he had the date marked on his calendar or something.
So
he's teased it before.
Like, I get excited that it's like January 3rd, if that still stands, just because like that's a lot earlier than I was thinking. Well, it's like 3 or 4 weeks earlier than I was thinking, and I'm like, okay, that like guest show is like 80 days.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah, I mean by this time this is going up, it's probably like 70 something days. But you know, that's just how things work.
I'm sure we'll get some more information here soon, so I'm not worried about it. But I'm excited for whenever we do get it, because
I know,
especially after everything Ronan said, and like the Tarlos Tuesday that Ronan and Rafa posted that video.
We're still not over it.
We're still not over it. You know, just the excitement of them being on set, working together again.
And looking so cute doing it. I'm sorry, they just looked really cute doing it.
I know, like, always, like, I just need, like, all the things.
And can we just, like, give a shout out to Natasha for all of the behind the scenes photos that she takes, that she shares once in a while?
She is like Lone Star's Aisha. Because you know how Aisha plays
yes. Like, so, like, those photos of Rafa and the messy curly hair and the glasses, okay, that was gold right there. Just saying. Gold.
Absolute. Yeah, no, literally, absolute gold. Like, yes, please, like, I love that.
And that was at the firehouse set.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm sure they were just meeting up, but I'm like, hey, I wonder what they've got planned if they're at the firehouse again.
Well, if that is okay, I feel like we're not going to be this lucky. But if that is Carlos's outfit,
oh, I doubt it. That looked like Rafa coming from home.
They were rehearsing. They were rehearsing. That wasn't actually like what they were wearing.
I know. You know what I mean? As I said, I doubt it. I got that. But like, if it was,
I know. I'm just saying. No. That's. I wish. Like, just imagine. No, I wish. Okay, so back to regularly scheduled programming. Poppy begins. So
I could have sworn you just said Poppy begins.
I know. I thought for a second you did too.
No, Bobby begins.
Yes.
Okay, so I do have something to say. So I'm not gonna lie. When I watched the first episode, the one from season 1, I had to make sure I was on the right episode because I was so confused because I just thought that I thought it was more backstory heavy than it was, where it was just a normal episode in my opinion. Yeah. So the things we talk about in that episode are mostly going to be geared towards Bobby because obviously we've kind of already highlighted the past seasons. Mm-hmm. But I was like, wait. I did not. I thought this was I don't know. I was just like, what am I? I had to I was rewinding.
No, I hear you.
I was like, oh my god, what? I legit thought I was on the wrong episode. Also, I thought it was called Bobby Begins, so that explains that too.
And I think the only reason why I remember it being episode 5 is because 4 was the airplane crash, and that was what really triggered Bobby.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna lie, I really like that episode, and this is really I really like the emotional aspects of that episode, especially the part where Hen and Buck go to his apartment and they see he had went on a bender, which obviously they didn't really know at the time that it was a bender because I don't think they knew he was an alcoholic.
No, they didn't.
I don't know. I just really I like that storyline, even though it's super sad, but it's real. So yeah.
Amen for that, because Bobby did ask for help finally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so then that leads into this episode, which episode 105, which we get a little bit more.
Yeah. So it starts with the Indian wedding where and stuff, and they're dancing and the floor collapsed, so I guess a third story was added onto that building, and they didn't use steel to reinforce it. They just used cheap materials that were banned or whatever.
Basically, they kind of just used aluminum and tin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, of course it collapsed. Hundreds of people. Not the smartest thing. And when Bobby went off on the owner of the building, I was like, yes, as you should.
Well, yeah, because the second story had been added illegally. Yeah. Or the third story had been added illegally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the roof itself was not originally able to hold that. And it wasn't
ever meant to.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's go Bobby. I don't think I even would have restrained myself as much as he did. Because obviously people died at that place. Right. And it was so stupid. Honestly, the amount of people that died just because someone did something stupid.
Right? Yeah.
And and Bobby's still affected a little bit by the plane crash and everything he's going on, so he's kind of on edge, and so then he really goes off. He kind of takes it out on the owner, which you're right too.
As you should.
I mean, is that the best policy? No, but the guy needed to be going off on anyway, so it balances out, I guess.
Yeah. It's very valid. And and then the next scene, and these are moments where I'm what is happening? It was me half of the episode being so confused and stuff. But Hen and Tina have dinner, and Hen starts talking about Bobby to Athena, and I would say at this point Athena knows who Bobby is, and she is acquainted with him, but they don't have
obviously
this is way before they started
dating. Athena came to the firehouse, and
we know fast forwarding to the second Bobby Begins episode that they've worked together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know they work together, but I mean, I feel they're acquaintances rather than
Oh yeah, they're acquaintances at best.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel she just doesn't even Hen, I don't feel knows him very well at this rate, because their conversation, Athena's just saying how talking about her family life and saying I swear it's I don't know these people I'm supposed to be the closest to, and hence there's a lot of that going around. Athena's trouble at home, and then she starts talking about Bobby, and she's no, it's Bobby, and Athena's just Clark Kent and stuff, and then Hen was saying how he went on a bender after the plane crash, and her and Buck went over there to make sure he was still alive, And she was saying how there was no picture on it, like no single picture on his wall, like nothing, no sign of family. It was just weird. And she's like, yeah, he's been a captain for over a year, and all that time he's never talked about his personal life. It's like he has an invisible wall up, and Athena's like, what? Do you think his wife left him and took everything? And she's like, see, it looks like nobody ever like moved in. And like Athena asks if she wants her to like do a background check, and Pen's like, no. Bobby already got trust issues. I don't want those problems.
And like, it's true.
Yeah, so
you don't want to do that.
Like, remember, like, I don't remember. I think it might have been the second begins, but she like asked him about the book, and he's just like trying to avoid the subject. Like, that's what would happen if like Athena actually did a background check, which I don't know.
They don't need to open that can of worms.
I don't think that can of worms should ever be opened. Like, there's just that's
not with such like blatant disregard for privacy.
Yeah,
like, give him a little bit more time to let him tell you.
Right. And also, like, Hen, like, acknowledges, she's like, I'm not saying he's a bad captain. Hell, he's the best captain I've ever worked under, but I'm just starting to worry about him. So, like, it came after worry. It wasn't, like, anything else.
Yeah, it wasn't like I'm starting to, like, be concerned about working under him or anything like that. No, she's just worried about him as, like, someone that she knows.
Right, which is, valid, and, it's good that and that's the whole point of a firehouse, is like their family. They see the things that are going on, and they help each other, and they have concerns about each other, just like you would if they were your family member.
And there is a certain responsibility to take a note of something going on like this and be like, huh.
Right.
Yeah. Honestly, I think at any, like, profession or job, like, you need to, like, look out after others, after your people.
Especially in a job where your lives depend on being able to trust each other.
Exactly, like...
So, like, that's why such families are, like, so close-knit, because they know everything about each other. Not everything, but a lot about each other. Because they have to. Right.
And so, like, throughout this episode, we see him, like, go to church, and then, like, this is, like, I feel like this is, like, a recurring theme in like the first season mostly, is like him praying, talking to the priest or whatever and stuff. Like, that was just like him in season 1.
I'm so disappointed that they didn't carry on like that theme more, because
I did
I liked it. Yeah,
I liked it. I think it like shows that like in the first season he didn't really have like people to maybe talk to, where now like obviously he has a wife and like he's closer with people like he works with and that kind of stuff. Right. So I feel like he couldn't really trust anybody, where now I feel like he can.
Yeah. And like I just think it would have been nice to have been able to see a little bit of like his transition period, and then like what am I thinking with this here? Just basically see how his visits changed as he got rid of some of his guilt.
Right.
He could also...
It's not simply just for the times when you have done something wrong or have something to absolve yourself of. No, that's not what religion's about.
Right. Yeah. Even if they just showed it, like, as, like, this is something he still does, not necessarily that he goes to, like, confess all his sins, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, even just... But, that's just not how it always works. But, like, I don't know, I really like these scenes, especially, like, how Bobby says that he figures the only way to lead a crew is for him to shield them from his own personal damages. And he feels that, like, because they've given him his trust, but he's given them nothing in return, because he's hiding, like, this past life he had.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, the priest kind of just says, well, all it takes is a conversation like this one. And Bobby's just like, it's not that simple. There are things about me they just don't know. Things I can't risk following us into the field. Because, like, I think, like, in his past, like, people didn't want to work with him after what happened.
We got that confirmed in the second Bobby Begins. Because if you remember, his old chief told them that not everyone was ready to run into fire with him covering their backs.
Yeah, I didn't trust him anymore.
Yeah. So
and that's part of the reason why he was transferred to somewhere else.
Yeah, so for literally a fresh start.
Yeah. And then, like, the conversation of him, like, relapsing again came up, and Bobby's like, because the priest is like, you mean you fell off the wagon? He's like, no, I murdered my own family, which we know that, like, that's way more dramatic than it actually is, even at this point.
Yeah, it makes it sound like he took a hatchet to them to be.
Right.
Yeah,
And
like
he didn't. It was a mistake.
Because, like, if you logically think about it, if that really happened, he wouldn't be standing here.
Right.
No.
It's true.
But then we go 5 years in the past in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I think that's like I know the reason that they like that's where Bobby is from is because that's where Peter, not that's where he's from. Like he's from Minnesota, which is why Bobby's from there, which I think is an interesting fact to put out there.
I didn't actually know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know where in Minnesota, but he's from Minnesota.
Exactly.
Though it would be awkward if Oliver or Buck was from England, just since Oliver's, But it would give...
that would be so. Can you imagine if Buck was actually like British? That would give me such weird vibes. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, tangent.
Like, oh my god, like that would just be strange. Anyways, so like we see Bobby drinking in his truck and stuff, and like we think his wife doesn't know, and like obviously his kid, like this is why he drinks in there, obviously because he want his wife to see. He doesn't think she knows, but she knows.
Wives know more than you give them credit for.
You can't just put some gum in your mouth and expect the alcohol smell to go away.
Especially because it tends to linger on clothes and stuff like that. No, it's not that simple.
Yeah, like you can tell like just the vibe after, but like obviously he's in his truck because he wants to hide it, and like there's so much with this, but and then, like, later when he goes in, you see, like, his family, because before that, we knew he had a family, but, like, we didn't really...
It just is in the dark as anyone else.
Yeah, like, this isn't, like, some things where we're just like, oh, we know more than this character.
It's like, nope, we don't. Please enlighten us.
Yeah, so he, like, he goes inside or whatever, and... you see the kids and his wife and stuff. And then, like, after you see, like, him be like, yeah, I'm gonna go for a walk. And, like, the kids are, like, he put the kids to bed and stuff. But his wife's like, oh, don't go. And then you just see him go, like, to, like, the 6th floor in an apartment he rents just to, like, drink and do drugs to hide it from his wife and his family.
And we already are like, yeah, that's not a good premonition.
Yeah, like the way things go from here forward, I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, it's just really rough.
Yeah, it gives so much perspective though, because I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like that explains a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was tough because like he comes back, and he helps get the kids ready for bed, and then they get into an argument after, and then he leaves, and then it all kind of goes downhill from there. I mean, not that wasn't already going downhill, but...
Things go to hell from there.
Yeah. And we found out that, like, he had been to rehab, like, 10 months prior.
Right.
And that's like, we also don't really have that referred to at all after that, I believe. So that's, like, interesting tidbit to remember. Yeah. Yeah, like, this episode, I feel like, and, like, the one they did later, like we really only got like one sequence I would call it, compared to like Buck and Eddie Begins, where we got like more like flashbacks and more like things to it, which I kind of wish with this one we got, which I think is why those ones are better. I'm just gonna say. Well, this was the first Begins episode. And so they obviously had time to iron out, like, oh, this works better. Oh, this was really liked. Right. Yeah. I just wish if we could go back, we could get, like, just a little more, because, I mean, it was good, but, like, I feel like we needed more. Oh, always more. Yeah.
Obviously, I think the biggest problem was you know, we learned a good chunk from that, and kind of the situation with Bobby in St. Paul like 5 years prior was, you know, he did end up leaving the house again that night to go downstairs to kind of get away from their argument, and he went to.
Well, he got kicked out. Yeah,
yeah, she kicked him out, and he didn't take his keys with her. Or no, the first time he'd been drinking, and he woke up and realized he'd been down there for too long. So it's when he came back.
Right? Oh yeah,
and he left his keys, and he ended up on the roof. That's the whole storyline, was that he'd gone in there, had some drinking, some alcohol, accidentally left the heater on. So when he came back home and he left his keys on the thing, he couldn't go back into that apartment. So he went up on the roof and was drinking up there. And then he woke up hours later and their apartment was already engulfed in flames.
Yeah, honestly, I never connected before now that he like left his keys in there. I don't know. I just never thought about that. Yeah.
I remember him setting him on the counter when he got back in the apartment, and then when she kicked him out, he didn't grab him.
Oh, right, yeah. And, like, the way she kicks it out, which, understandable, she's like, yeah, you can spend the night in your drug den. And I'm just like, ooh. That hurts. And, like, she's like, I'll forgive you, just not tonight. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, understandable.
I mean, I feel like that's fair, yeah.
It's very fair.
Like, yeah, you gotta have some time to cool down after that.
Yeah,
and I'm sure things would have been fine if things hadn't gone to hell.
Right. Yeah. And this is also why you don't drink, mix alcohol and pain medication. Because didn't Bobby get into like some injury or something that caused him to go on pain medication, and that's kind of where it started?
Yeah, that's what happened. And that happens a lot.
Yeah, he broke his back, and he even made the comment, like, you can break your back and, like, you'll never be the same again, which, I wouldn't go. I mean, yes, but, like, look at you now.
Yeah.
So that was obviously, like, I feel like that was honestly, like, kind of an excuse just to get drugs. Just because, like, I don't know. It is true, but, like, it was also kind of, like, alleged for another excuse.
I mean, that's what happens with addicts, is that there's always some form of an excuse so that they can go and do whatever they're doing. It only ever has to make sense to them.
Right. Yeah. And then, like, I feel like everything after this happened so fast because he, like, falls asleep on the roof, which, honestly, I'm like, okay, it's, like, the middle of winter.
I know, I'm sitting there like, okay.
I would have been freezing my keister off.
Yeah.
He looked cold when he woke up.
Yeah, he probably was, honestly, like...
Yeah.
And when he wakes up, he smells the smoke and starts looking around, and he can see the flashing lights, so he looks over the
you start hearing the sirens, too.
Right,
been able to hear them.
And he looks over, and he sees all the fire trucks and ambulances down in the parking lot. And
you can see flames out of the window.
Yeah, like, the whole building is, like it's going up.
Engulfed.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, so he, like, it's so, like...
This was a really hard scene, too, when he tried to go back to the apartment.
Oh, yeah, because... So they lived on the 11th floor, and then the drug apartment was on the 6th floor. And because I know he was trying... Like, this one guy was on fire, and he was literally, like, beating him to get the fire out. And then, like, he tried breaking the door for, like, his apartment for the kids and Marcy. And, like, he fell through the floor, and then he tries to get back up, like, climb... through the floor, and then, like, one of the firefighters, like, shoos him out, basically.
Right. When I felt bad because he, like, was kicking the door in, and I think he got the door kicked in, and if if the door hadn't been opened, they might have survived.
Yeah, that's so...
Because honestly, 148 people died that day, so that's a toss-up, like...
Well, I just mean, like, because their apartment hadn't been engulfed yet.
Yeah.
So by opening up the door, it was allowing the fire to continue through the door. So if he hadn't opened the door, there was a chance they could have survived. More so, because, like, the kids died, and then Marcy was in the hospital afterwards. But we don't learn about that till the next movie begins.
Right.
We're kind of crossing over our knowledge here, because we get more of a view.
Right.
But the thing with that... is that if the floor hadn't gone out from under him, he could have gotten the rescue process started. And so that was like a twisted, crazy fate that it didn't work out like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, dang, just like a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. And like he was talking about like how he killed his own family and his kids. And it's so heartbreaking like hearing like him talk about it. And we don't even know, like we kind of have an idea, but like we don't like it doesn't hit as it hits like in the second part.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Well, we're getting snatches in the first one.
Yeah, like I said, like when I was watching it, like it was so minimal compared to what I remembered because like this isn't one of the ones I've seen like a ton. I've seen it like maybe a handful of times, but not a ton. So like I could not remember at all.
Yeah, like I didn't get a chance to be able to watch it. And so like I'm here and I'm just going off of mostly what I know from the second episode and what little I remember from the first and just being like, that's right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were curious what the book was, and that was kind of what Bobby was explaining was in the book was the names, the 448 names, I think, of the people that had died. And so he was, for every person he saved on the job, he was writing their name in the book to balance out the 148 that died. So like he explained it, I think, to the pastor. Yeah, eye for an eye kind of thing. And then he figured, when the book was full, he killed himself.
That was so sad, like thinking, like hearing about and thinking about, like, and just to think that, like, there are like a lot of first responders that think like that. It's so sad.
Yeah.
And this was the episode where we got that one call that was like the car wash.
Yeah, the guy got tied up in the brushes.
I forgot it's that one.
Yeah, like I didn't really. I want to like pay kind of like like a little bit to that, but I didn't like really note it just because it's not super relevant, but it's relevant in the aspects that like Buck's cracking up, then Hen starts cracking up, and then Bobby starts cracking up, which is so odd.
And the owner's just standing there like,
Yeah, and then he joins in, but it was a monumental thing because it was the first time to Hen that he'd ever started laughing and laughed in front of them.
Yeah, and like
he'd always been so serious around everybody.
Yeah, and like he had told her that he's made mistakes and lost everything he's cared about, and to get through it, he does not allow himself to get close enough to others to be important to them. So he doesn't have to go through that kind of loss again. And he adds that, like, but apparently I'm not very good at it because you, Buck, Chimney have become that important to me. And when I was watching this episode, I was like, Eddie. Oh wait, Eddie wasn't a thing back then.
Right.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Oh my god.
Now I want to read you where he includes Eddie because that's not fair.
Yeah, like yes. And then like Hans just like lettuce and Bobby, and he's like, tell you what, let's get back to the house, cook a delicious meal, and I'll introduce you to someone. And Hans just like, who? And Bobby's like, me. And I'm like, Hen, who do you think it was?
I mean, that was a weird way to phrase it. He was going to talk about himself, but yeah.
I know. I guess it like kind of would catch you off guard because he doesn't really talk. I feel like he never talked about himself. I mean, we know he never talked about himself, so yeah, I guess I get it, but I'm also like, what?
So then we move on to episode 216, but to caveat that, so in 215 was Ocean's 118, where Hen had been trapped in the bank vault, and Bobby and the crew had to figure out a way to get into her, and there was this whole like drawn out drama, which ended up the 118 got accused of stealing a whole bunch of money, which turned out it was their maintenance guy had set up something with the retiring bank manager and just some drama. Anyways, during that investigation that the police did of the team of the 118, the police department found some interesting information about Bobby that had not been disclosed to him, to the department when he was hired. So then that night, when Bobby and Athena are at his place, the deputy chief shows up and goes, hey, I didn't want to wait until morning to tell you this, and tells them that he's being suspended per review because of some stuff that came up in the investigation. So we start Bobby Begins kind of in that investigation mindset.
Yeah. Right. And I believe like it was kind of like said that like he was like kind of like, oh, about like what had happened in that episode, and they're like, no, about what happened in Minnesota. And it's just like even Buck says this when like he tells them that he's suspended. Buck's like, that's old news. And it's like, oh yes, it is. That's a great way
feel
of
like
putting
that's
a
the
book.
first real time that we learned that he told them everything.
Yeah,
I don't feel like we really had that confirmed that everything was said before. I could be wrong. I could be not remembering something, but
yeah. Well, I'm sure like when Bobby said that he was going to introduce himself, that's probably when he told them.
Right.
But come to think of it, but
because they were kind of explaining it around the table to Eddie. Because Eddie, when the team was at this house and Bobby wasn't there and Jim was in his place, they were telling Eddie.
Oh yeah.
Eddie hadn't been there when Bobby had shared everything.
I don't remember that, but yeah, that's true.
Okay, yeah, this is me being like, yeah, when that one is done, like for this half of the season, I'm rewatching from season 2 on because there are a lot of things that I do not remember.
Yeah, my brain is not working today as far as that. And usually I'm the one who's like, oh, yes, that.
Especially when it comes to Eddie.
Yes, not that.
That's okay. We've all had some issues this week. No worries.
Oh, that's for sure. But yeah, and so yeah, so like the whole interview thing, and I'm just like, oh boy.
So Bobby's in his uniform, and he's sitting down and basically in an interrogation room, and it's to go over his base. From what I could gather, the chief in St. Paul basically doctored his records to transfer him to Los Angeles and didn't divulge exactly what happened and what was the cause of the apartment fire to keep it out of Bobby's records, so he wouldn't per se get in trouble and keep being kept from getting another job.
Yeah, because
that would, keep him from getting another job.
Well, not necessarily, but he should have divulged it in the first place. Because a lot of times it involves security clearance, and sometimes you have to divulge even if stuff that's not so great. As long as you're honest with them and upfront about the fact that it happened and that you've taken care of it. Or
like people have gone in that have had like some sort of like minor record before, and they're fine with that. You just need to tell them, because if they find out on their own, the fact that you didn't tell them is going to be what raises the red flag, not the thing itself.
Right. Yeah, and
unless it was like some like major crime.
Yeah, it's not like he.
Well, I don't know. That murder isn't technically, but
but he got gotten cleared of everything, and so it's like, that's different.
It was his fault, but it also wasn't his fault in a way. Like that's how I look at it. Like
yes, he was the catalyst, he was the beginning, but there were a lot of other things that made it as bad as it did, like sprinkler system not working. And like various other different parts that had contributed to all that loss.
Yeah, so the fire also was in 2014. So yeah, it's just I like dates. Like just need to know when everything happens. Yeah. Good timeline to follow.
Yeah, we love good timeline.
Yes. So then we see like kind of the beginning of the fire almost, because like we see like somebody call 911, and I believe it was
sounded like it was Macy or Marcy.
Yeah, I got that too, because she said something like, oh, like my husband or something like that is gonna like whatever.
No, it was the kids talking in the background, and she was saying daddy's coming.
Yes, that's what.
And that's the first indication we get that it's her.
Right.
That's really the only indication we get that it's her, because it could be anybody.
Yeah, like the fact that she said, "Oh, daddy's coming," I was like, okay, we know who this is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, we know like from the previous part that like he was forced out of the fire, and then this is like kind of it takes place after that, because like Bobby's talking to like an EMT or something, because obviously like he got injured a little bit in the fire, like
and he got some burns.
Yeah, and he's adamant about going back in for his family, and of course they don't let him. Obviously,
they're like, no, you're not making one more body to drag out.
Right, and then like Marcy's burned out on a stretcher, and she is burned up bad, like real bad, like
it was pretty. You wonder how she's alive. To be honest, I'm surprised it was as good as it was.
Yeah. And like Bobby, like I think like the first thing he thinks of is his kids, but like
we see them being laid down.
After
in the morgue
this.
area.
Yeah, it was a little after this, which was so sad. Like, just the thought of that and just seeing that, like, that's what makes this a lot more sad for me. Because just seeing that, I'm like, oh my god, that just, it's...
Because the firefighter told them to go with Marcy. He was trying to get him to not see them laying the kids down.
Right, yeah, that's a hard thing to see. Like, knowing that your kids died in a fire that you started, whether if it was intentional or not, which obviously we know it wasn't.
Obviously.
It's hard, but, like, seeing it with your own eyes, that's disturbing. Anyways, so, like...
See, the kid, from what it looked like, the kids died of smoke inhalation.
Right, and
because we couldn't see any obvious injuries, and so I'm guessing they were probably hiding in their room. Maybe Marcy was hiding somewhere else or something like that, because obviously she was badly hurt. And we only saw the girl get laid down, but she didn't appear to have any obvious burns. So we can guess smoke inhalation, which at least that's a quiet way to go. Better than being burned. Anyway.
I think part of the problem was, like, at the time of the fire, they didn't know Bobby was part of the issue because there were no sprinklers. Like, the entire 11 or 12-story building had no sprinkler system going.
Well, the building was not up to code. Like, there were so many things wrong with it. And, like, he even made a comment later saying that how, like, maybe if he hadn't been, like, drinking or, like, had been doing drugs, maybe he would have actually done something about it.
Well, he was like, I lived in that apartment for years. Like, I don't even know how long he said. But he's like, I lived in there for so many years, and I didn't even notice it wasn't up to code.
Right.
And he's a firefighter, so, you know, that would be kind of, if anyone was expected to know, other than maybe an architect, or a fire safety marshal or something like that, he would be just...
My mind just went to Buck.
Buck and his clipboard.
Okay, we could use Buck and his clipboard at this instance.
Like, that image just popped into my head. I was like, Buck!
Never give Buck a clipboard, period.
No.
But yes. But yeah, this was a tough scene. And then, you know, seeing next scene we get is Bobby at the hospital with Marcy, and she's asking about the kids, and she's in this, like, tent to keep germs out, basically, because she's so burned that, you know,
infection risk is crazy.
Right.
And Bobby's just saying, oh, don't worry about the kids, they'll be fine.
Yeah,
and then she codes and she passes away in the hospital. Yeah,
I feel like that was kind of intentional of him telling her they're fine, just because, like, obviously he doesn't want her to worry, and maybe he thought, maybe not, maybe he thought she wouldn't make it, which honestly, like, I would...
Honestly, I think, and this is just insane, I think it was kind of established that she was too burned to live.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the reason why I thought the priest was even there, to read last rites just in case. And so it's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, do you want your wife in distress knowing that your kids are dead? And that would probably even speed along how quickly she died. Or do you want to tell a white lie that she's not even going to live to find out isn't true?
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, honestly, we've seen it done before, and it's like, yeah, tell them they're fine. That way they can at least go peacefully. And
right.
Yeah, it's best to let them go in peace, and they don't need to worry about what's going on.
Yeah. Like, this whole episode is so emotional, like, and just, yeah. But we do get, like, I guess, like, a happier flashback, because we see the kids, and, like, this is, like, Bobby before, like, the 118, like, I just love this image. Like, that's, obviously, we know it's that, but, like, I don't know, it's just, like, kind of, like, we needed this little, like, glimpse of happy, even though, like, we know it leads to, like, not so happy, but, you know, it's fine. But, like, it's also sad because this is kind of, like, it almost feels like a dream, or, like, him, because obviously we know after this, like, he's overdosing, and then they, like, shock him.
It's sort of a before-death illusion.
Yes, exactly. I just did not know what to say, like, how to put words on that. Like, I don't even know.
That's hard to phrase.
Like, yeah, definitely perfect way to say that. But, like, yeah, and, like, this is so sad because when they shocked him and he was coming back, he was, like, angry. He was like, why did you bring me back? I was there with them, and the deputy chief guy was just like, get him out of here and keep his damn name off the radio. And I'm just like, yeah. And then later, like, this, the same guy, like, the chief, visits him in the hospital. Like, you can tell they had, like, some established, like, relationship, because you could just tell, like,
they seemed to, it didn't seem like, oh, sir. It's like, sir. That guy thing, not particularly formal.
And, like, when he's, like, kind of recovering from this whole ordeal, he's like, am I fired? And the deputy chief, Phil is actually his name, says, for what, being an alcoholic, pick a day, I'll point out 10 church basements, you'll see some familiar faces, I guess. And then he says, like, I guess she read the report, and Bobby's like, they cleared me, I didn't want that. So obviously, like, he's feeling guilty for the 140 people, not to mention his own family, his kids, his wife, and it's just like, damn.
Yeah, well, it's like, he wanted to be punished.
Yeah, and, like, that carries, like, throughout the whole first season, too.
Yeah. Before he starts having something to live for.
Yeah.
He's seeking his punishment.
Yeah, well, and even in that conversation, the Bobby didn't want to be cleared, he wanted to be, in trouble for all that stuff, but they're like, on top of, he's like, what, you were drunk and high and left the space heater unattended, and it overheated. Then the circuit breaker didn't trip, the water supply failed to supply water, building alarms with dead batteries and no electrical backup, dozens of code violations were overlooked. So it wasn't Bobby's specific fault, but that was like, it led to a chain reaction of other things.
It was the match, necessarily, and the rest of it was the kerosene.
Right, and so it wasn't Bobby's fault per se. It just kind of led to what happened. And so I kind of liked how he said, it's like he missed things, and he lived there. And then he says, well, and I have too. And then Phil says, what, punish yourself? And Bobby's like, well, yes. And then Phil's like, Bobby, you want to be punished? Your punishment is that you lived. Now make it worth a damn. And I love that.
I love that.
Because he's calling him out and basically saying, hey, you lived.
Yeah.
Now make it worthwhile.
And that is his punishment. And we saw him even view it as that when he was brought back after kind of drinking himself to death or overdosing or whatever. Because he was like, why? And it's like, yeah, that is his punishment.
Honestly, yeah. And stuff. And, like, see him, like, work on himself and stuff, because we see him, like, go to meetings and, like, at this point, we see that he's 6 months clean, and he, like, talks to Phil, and he had been writing the desk for a while, understandably so, and he wants to get to, like, regular work. He wants to get back out there so he can, like, pay his dues to the 148 names to, like, balance his book and stuff. And sometimes I'm like, when I think about season 1, I'm like, damn, I forgot about that damn book.
Right.
Like, well, I think something we need to, like, look at, the book was given to him, I think, by the guy who ran the AA that he was visiting.
Oh, yeah, because, like, he had to pay it. He was on, like, the 8th stuff, I believe it was, where you have to, like,
atone, basically, for everyone, like, to everyone that you hurt.
Right, you have to, like, make amends, quote-unquote. Yeah. And so, like, yeah, like, that's honestly, I feel like the idea of, like, the steps is kind of, like, detrimental to, like, it's kind of damaging to yourself, because, like, yeah, you need to make amends, but, like, when you kill all these people, even though it wasn't intentional, it's just, like,
when it comes down to the general circumstances, and, like, his circumstances in particular, it's not like he can go walk up to them and say, hey, I'm sorry for killing you.
Right.
Like, to put it in the most base of terms.
Right, yeah.
Like, you can't do that.
And then, like, this is the point where Bobby says, like, well, because, like, Phil had mentioned how people in his current department don't feel comfortable going out with him just yet. And Bobby's just like, well, if they don't feel comfortable with me, I don't care. Transfer me anywhere. And so LA he goes.
Which is where we kind of, that's what I was talking about earlier is, they kind of fudged some of the information as to why he was being transferred.
Right.
So LA wouldn't question why he was getting hired.
Yeah, which understandable. But like I think this always happens like in a lot of shows like this. But like everyone's taking bets on how long he'll last because apparently they haven't had anybody last that long. And
6 captains in 2 years.
Yes.
Which is a large amount of people to go through.
Right.
I can only imagine. Yeah, and like it's funny because like they think that Bobby's not there yet, but he's just in the truck and he surprises them, and he's just like, "I'll see how." I don't remember how he phrased it, but like basically he takes bets on how long they'll last.
Yeah, he's like, well, whether I'll outlast one or all of you.
Oh,
yeah,
like,
which is so true.
We love it, and Hen's got the box, and she's just saying like,
She's like, oh,
awkward.
Okay. Yeah, and like I love like seeing him like submerged in like LA because you get all these like LA type calls, like the one where the guy is like stuck up on the palm tree, and like Chimney I think mentions how like they get a lot of these calls and like sometimes people die or whatever. Sometimes they don't like get to him in time, and I'm just like, and then there's the one where the lady is like the holistic hair salon, and she gets like the whatever that thing is that you sit the blow dryer.
The blow dryer, yeah.
Yeah, like the blow dryer you sit under, and she gets it stuck on her head, and she apparently had like this big audition. They're like, I don't think she's getting the part. Her Hen says that, and it's so terrible. And then the last one I remember was like the one with the guy had gotten like they thought he was stabbed or whatever, but it was really a chicken named Maurice. And I remember Rooster, yes. I knew it was one of the two.
They're sort of the same, but they're not.
No, I just couldn't remember what it was.
That's the one where he catches it because they're like, don't touch it. It's gonna do this, and then Bobby's the one that like handles it.
Yeah, he takes like a towel or something and he puts it over, and then he picks it up, and he's just like, "LA meet Minnesota" or something along the lines of that.
Or like West meet Midwest or something like that.
Oh no, yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, and I love like the little elements of Minnesota because like my dad's family's from Minnesota, so like I got that in my heart. So it's cool to have him from Minnesota and give a little element to LA.
Yeah, honestly.
And that's when we first see Athena, like when she first shows up in his life, which knowing where they end up later, it's like, we love that.
It's just funny because he hands a rooster to her.
Oh, that's right.
No.
That's exactly what she said. She's like, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? This is how I think she said. That's like what she was thinking as they walk off, and she's just there alone.
Call like, animal control. That's what you do. Even though this was apparently a well, technically it's called a cockfighting ring, a rooster fighting ring, and it's like, I lost my sympathy for that victim.
Right.
Like, couldn't you have aimed for the eye anyway?
Same.
Yeah. Anyhow, not me. I'm slightly malicious anyway.
And then we see that Bobby talking to the priest again. And he's talking about relapsing again after a year of being sober, or almost a year.
Yeah. I think it would have been I think it was supposed to be a year that day.
Yeah.
Because I also remember we get a little glimpse of Bobby Begins too in Dosed when he's hallucinating about, and it happens to be his daughter's birthday, and it would have been his 13th birthday.
I was just thinking about that. Like, I was like trying to figure out what episode. I mean, I'm not surprised it's Dosed just because I don't watch the episode a lot for obvious reasons. That episode
I actually do watch it fairly frequently, but mostly just because I love the scenes that aren't Bobby during when they're dosed.
Yeah.
And I love the beginning when they're helping Maddie move. Like,
oh, those are the only good parts of the episode. Right. The rest I skip because it's too
Taylor
trauma. No, it's not even just Taylor. Like Taylor. I don't like Taylor in that moment. But also like Bobby's scenes are just like too sad. Like they really break my heart. Like I can't.
Yeah, I can't watch them.
And then obviously he's dosed, so he's acting like out of character. But
it's just like
it's pulling up old memories and stuff.
It's just
But thankfully, Athena was able to talk him down off the ledge at that time, you know. And they were dating at the time.
Right,
So she obviously knew enough about his family and his past to be able to talk him through it.
Thank God for that.
Amen. And then he's talking to the priest, and the priest gives him some advice that says if he wants to help people, to take his chip back, because he's trying to get his chip back for relapsing and not making it to his year. And the priest is like, well, just try again.
Yeah.
Because that's all you can do is just one day at a time. And, I think, Bobby and his alcoholic storyline is kind of a TK, and his drug storyline too.
Yeah, exactly. I high key want a scene with them just talking about addiction together, because I think that would be amazing.
Oh my god, that'd be so good.
Give it to us, please. Yes.
Crossover.
Right. TK goes to LA, or him and Carlos go to LA, and so he decides he needs to go to a meeting while he's there, and he goes to the same meeting that Bobby's at. Or something.
Perfect.
Oh, and then they and then the rest, or they it could be an entire team vacation kind of thing. And TK goes to me while he's there, and sees Bobby, but then they run into each other outside of that, and they're like, you okay. We do not see each other.
For a reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
For a reason.
I know. I've seen I've seen that go wrong in so many ways, but in this sense it wouldn't go wrong. I'm just saying.
Right.
No, I think they'd be surprised, but that's about it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I could think of in that case is because there's times I think during the AA meetings where they ask for family or friends to come as kind of the way for them to see how much they've changed. And I'm it might be hard for TK to bring Carlos only because he's a cop, but then also Bobby would have a hard time bringing Athena because she's a cop, which is another parallel that I just connected.
I love how we completely skipped over Owen in that, him going to the meeting.
Yeah, I don't really think it would be an issue in a sense. Okay, I could see why for Bobby it would be hard to bring Athena. I honestly do see that, but for TK to bring Carlos, I don't see that as being
Well, I was thinking only in the sense of Carlos had arrested somebody that was there from getting arrested because they got pulled over for a DUI or something like that.
Okay, are we talking about in Texas though?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought we were still on the LA.
Sorry,
sorry.
Two different stories. I was just saying, in general, if TK took Carlos to a meeting in Texas, it would be awkward for Carlos.
Yeah.
Just it would be awkward for Athena to go to one, which, obviously we had a storyline where she's stalking him at the...
Yeah,
and we saw how great that went down.
Yeah. Well, Athena and Carlos have different they're very different. Carlos is softer, but not in a bad way. Where
he's slightly more laid back.
He's
laid
gentle.
back. Yeah, where Athena
he's more abrasive, I think.
Yeah, Athena, I don't know, she just pushes it too far sometimes. And I'm just chill. You need to chill.
Yeah, I also feel like she's more outwardly confident of herself.
Yeah.
Carlos is just slightly more quiet.
Yeah.
And also in the past scenes, we get one is when Bobby starts the whole having family dinner together at the 118 when they're eating.
I love that.
We work together, we eat together.
Yeah, I love that.
Communal bonding.
Yeah. And then we briefly see a glimpse of Buck showing up for his first day as probationary firefighter, which is brought back again in Buck Begins 2, which we just talked about last episode.
Yes.
So,
I forgot this scene was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I think they filmed it a couple of different ways, so then when they used it in the future, it was, you could definitely tell it was the same scene, just at a slightly different angle, though.
Oh, yeah. They definitely reused it a few times, which is totally fine. Totally fine.
Yeah.
Not complaining.
Yeah. It's great history for Buck and Bobby.
Yeah.
And then we hop to present day, and we've got Bobby sharing with the team that he's been suspended for not disclosing what happened in Minnesota.
I'm just laughing at what Buck says, because Buck's just what, Minnesota? That's old news. And I'm yes, Buck, say it. This is one of the moments where I just love Buck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And which, and Bobby's response is not to them because they just all found out about it. So they're having to decide what they want to do with Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my I thought when I rewatched this is like, I get why it matters, but also in my head, rewatching, I'm like, why does it matter? Because that happened like 5 to 6 years ago. I get it's bad that he lied about it, but like also wasn't necessarily him that lied. I mean, yes, he should.
I feel like it's less about the fact that he lied about it, other than they need to make certain for themselves that he's competent enough to hold his position.
Right.
Which obviously we know that he is, but they have to do it like the official way.
Yeah.
Yes. And they have to look back at all his other cases that he's done since he was in LA and to see if there were things he missed and things that they can blame on him not being sober.
Yeah, they need to make certain that he's not a risk. And like, that sucks, the process, but to me it's understandable.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it's understandable. It's just like me, the fan of the show, is like, okay, this is like so long ago. What does it matter? But me,
it's like we don't want to see Bobby in trouble.
But me looking
exactly.
But then there's the me that's looking at the show with like, okay, my logic. I'm like, okay, yes, I understand why this looks bad and why he's in trouble, sort of.
Sort of. Like, still, come on. Give him a break.
Yeah, I know. Like, okay, so like I'm gonna slightly compare Bobby and Owen for a second. So like Bobby is a character where he's never really done me wrong. Like I've always just liked him, and I can't really think of a moment where I was like, I don't like that. Owen, I love him, but sometimes he does things and I'm just like, why? I cannot.
Owen's a slightly more central character in the storyline than Bobby is, and so we're going to see, like, he's a big supportive guy for his team, but we also are well acquainted with his faults fairly early on. Bobby, it's not quite like that. So, I love both of them.
Yeah, same. I was just...
But it is very interesting to take a moment and analyze the differences between the two.
Yeah. It's just interesting to be like, okay, that's how I feel.
Yeah, for sure. But no, in fact, I don't really like watching Bobby Begins all that much. Simply,
I don't either.
I watched it. I was surprised how much I had forgotten, like, that I liked parts of it. Yeah. It's just the fact that, like, he was under investigation for me that, like, kept me from watching it. Yeah,
it is, like, a good episode, but it's very emotional. Even if you don't, like, stop watching it, it's still emotional, and there's, like, a lot of aspects of it that are just, like, but, like, it does give, like, him more dimension because we know what happened.
I feel like it's one of those where it's like, oh, now that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of gives us context to some of the ways and reasons he does certain things.
Oh, you know how in Buck Begins, it's like, that explains a lot about Buck. Well, in this case, it's like, that explains a lot about Bobby.
Yeah.
And isn't there a scene in this episode where, like, Athena is, like, trying, like, well, I could do some research on so-and-so or whatever, and, like, she's trying, like, wants to help Bobby, and Bobby's like, no, just let them do what they need to do and don't get involved because he doesn't want to drag her down and what's going to happen to him.
I honestly can't remember.
I think that's next episode.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's
it might be because this kind of leads into, with Bobby being on suspension, this leads into like the 2-part season finale, which is
the Balmer and the Freddie from,
which is one of the first calls that Bobby went on when he was in LA.
Oh yeah,
that Athena worked with him on, and once they start realizing what's happening,
we love seeing them work together. I need to see them work together more.
So we also need to see this really cool paramedic and his boyfriend cop work together a little more often.
Yeah,
just saying,
I wonder who that might be.
I don't know.
Y'all are in for it because now that we have more Lone Star info, we're just going to be completely bringing up references.
That was like the way that was brought up. That was such a teaser Ronan move. I'm just gonna put that out there. So good job.
I've learned well.
We've been educated by the master.
It's the master teaser.
For that teaser.
I'm gonna have to make that into a thing now. Master teaser.
Yes, make it a thing. Post on Instagram and like
coming soon
times so that he sees it.
I know. I'm keeping track for season 3 of what he's teased.
Oh my god. Sorry for those of you who've listened to this going like, how do you end up with going Tarlos 911 Lone Star stuff from a Bobby Begins episode? This is how we do
welcome to us.
Yeah. This is our Zoom chats all the time.
We're bouncing back and forth like a freaking kangaroo.
Like, I don't know how we do it. Like, I was like thinking,
it's a gift.
Like, honestly, yeah, like just the tangents, how we go off from one thing to another.
And we easily switch tangents. Like,
yeah.
It's a gift.
And we remember something in the middle of another conversation. It's like, oh yeah.
That is literally me because I can't stay focused enough to be like, oh yeah, just this one thing. It's like, oh, let's bring up all these other things. And that, and they're all related. I don't care if you don't see how it's related. It's related. Okay? Good.
Yeah, honestly.
That is my brain. Welcome to my brain. It's rather dizzying.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Got quite a lot going on up in this noggin of mine.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know. All in all, I think it was really cool to kind of get to know Bobby a little bit through the Begins episodes, but I think we've gotten to know Bobby a little bit through the series.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the same level of, oh, yeah, I said that explains a lot about Bobby, but Bobby has already explained a lot about himself before we get to this stage.
Right, yeah.
And because us as fans and watching the show, we've watched and seen other things that others in the show, like other characters, might not quite know yet. But yeah, like it does kind of explain, or it's not a shock to us when it comes out to like the characters.
Case in point, like this last episode with Harry being kidnapped and stuff. We already knew that he was kidnapped, but the team didn't, and so we got to watch their reaction. And that just popped up into mind because that was an example. But yeah.
Yeah, no.
Spoiler alert. Anyway.
Spoiler.
Way too late. I'm in spoiler jail now.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
Dang it, I want to see Ronan.
You can be Ronan any day you want.
Yeah, how many times we zoomed with him?
True.
Just saying.
True. Anyway, so Bobby Begins is probably like my fourth favorite Begins episode, right behind Athena Begins and the two self-explanatory ones.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be very vague about how I'd rank them until we finish them all, but I will say it's in the top 5.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Which
it's only 5 team members.
Okay. Well, no, there are 6 Begins episodes.
6 if we count Athena, yes. Okay, so there's only 6 people.
Okay.
I love it.
I don't care. I'm keeping that because, like...
Yeah, when we finish the last Begins episode, I'll say mine too.
Yeah, we'll do the whole rankings.
But... Yes. Excited for it.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Anchor. We're also on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and almost everywhere you can find podcasts now. On iTunes, please rate us and leave us a review. It would mean a lot to us. You can follow the podcast on our socials at 911LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also come chat with us on our Discord server. You can get the link in the description of this podcast and also in our Instagram bio.
You guys can follow me, Katie, at @ForLoveTarlos on Instagram and at @ForLoveTarlos on Twitter.
You can follow me, Grace, at RonanRatha911 on Instagram and at SheepGirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram and Twitter. Bye.
Bye.